Hello everyone. I wanted to talk with you today about a very fascinating subject. This subject is the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Most everyone has heard about these apocalyptic four horsemen. Most people think of them as evil powers that will be unleashed upon the world in the time of the final 7 years tribulation that is described in Revelation. These four horsemen are understood by most to be evil and to wreak havoc in God's final judgment upon the earth. The story of the four horsemen is found in Revelation 6, and I would like to take a minute or two now to read the passage where it refers to the four horsemen in Revelation 6. It says, I watched as the lamb is referring to Jesus, opened the first of the seven seals. Then I heard one of the four living creatures say in a voice like thunder, Come. I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow. He was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, Come. Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword. When the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard the living creature say, Come. I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. When I heard what sounded like a voice among the four living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine. When the Lamb opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, Come. I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and by the beasts of the earth. So that's the reference in Revelation to the four riders and the four horses. Well, most think of the horsemen as forces that are going to be unleashed on the world in the future. It's my contention that these forces or horsemen have already been unleashed, and we are experiencing their destructive powers this very day. It's my contention that these forces have already been unleashed by God and are leading us to the final tribulation period, where they will contend with God for final victory over who will control the earth. That is, will demons headed by the Antichrist control the earth, or will Jesus Christ control the earth? Now at this point, please note that 3 of the 4 horsemen are identified by colors. There's a white horse, a red horse, and a black horse. Finally, there's a 4th horse with a shade of a color, which is translated as a pale horse. In today's discussion, I want to begin with the 4th horseman, or the so-called pale horse, because I believe it is most easily understood in the context of what we are experiencing in the world today. To begin with, I wanted to point out that the pale horse is only pale because of a mistranslation from a Greek. As we noted before, the other 3 horses are colors. This horse also should be translated as a color. The word in the original Greek means something else, not pale. The word in Greek is chloros. It is the root of our word chloro, and it is where we get the word chlorophyll from. It's the word for the color green or light green. This word, it was mistranslated because the translator didn't think a green horse went with a rider called Death. So he changed the word to pale, as in pale green. So we can see from this that the word chloros really should be translated as green or light green, as in the color of springtime grass. The word chloros is translated in this way, in other words, as green, in all other instances where it is used in the Bible except here. So when we are reading this, we should read it as a light green horse and not as a pale horse. So the four horsemen actually are given as four colors, and pale is not one of the colors. God gave us these colors as identifiers. They were meant to give us an indication of who these horses were so that we could identify them in relation to the forces present in the end times. So what would a green horse with a rider called Death possibly represent? It's my contention that the green represents Islam. Well, why is that, you may ask? When looking at pictures of Islam, you can see that green is a primary color that they frequently use. For instance, if you look at the flag of Hamas, you will see that it is mainly green. Here's a picture of the flag of Hamas. My printer didn't do a good job on the shade of green. It's actually a lighter green than what you see here. But that's the color of their flag. You also will find that many Islamic countries have the same kind of green field in their background. I want to read an article to you. It's from Slate magazine. It's entitled Islamic Greenwashing, subtitled Why is Green So Important in the Islamic World? And this will give you a good indication of why Islam can be associated with the color green. The main rival of President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in the Iranian elections, Mir Hossein Mousavi, has adopted green as his signature color. The flags of Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the Palestinian group Hamas also include these colors, which I just showed you. Why is green so prevalent in the Muslim world? Because it was supposedly Muhammad's favorite color. The Islamic prophet is said to have worn a green cloak and turban, and his writings are full of references to the color. A passage from the Quran describes paradise as the place where people will wear green garments of fine silk. One hadith says when Allah's apostle died, he was covered with the Hebra bird, which is a green square garment. As a result, you will see green used to color the binding of Qurans, the domes of mosques, and yes, in campaign materials. Green has other properties too that can make it a natural fit for Islam in the Middle East. It is a symbol of nature and life, especially potent in the dry desert. Muhammad invoked this connection when he wrote about a folkloric figure called Al-Qidr, or the Green One, who symbolizes immortality. At least one commentator has speculated that green is the middle of the color spectrum, and Muhammad preached moderation. One complements the other. Green comes up a lot in Islamic history. It was the color of the flag of the Fatimid Caliphate, the last of the four Arab caliphates. During the Crusades, Islamic soldiers wore green to identify themselves. Likewise, Crusaders avoided green in their coats of arms just to be safe from friendly fire. Some say the banner under which Muhammad fought in the war on Mecca was green with gold trimming. For centuries in Persia, only descendants of Muhammad, known as the Sayyids, were allowed to wear green turbans. Anyone else would be punished for it. Green was also favored by the Ottoman Empire, which, after the Tanzimat reforms of the mid-19th century, dyed its secular flags red and its religious flags green. More recently, the color has become associated with Hamas, which sports a bright green flag. Okay, so that's just some evidence of why Islam can be associated with green. Okay, now, so let's go back to the passage in Revelation of the green rider. What does this passage say about the green horse and the green rider that may identify it with Islam? The rider's name is Death, and Hades follows him closely, close behind. Hades in Greek mythology was the god of death and of the wicked dead. So this rider brings death, and the god of the wicked dead, or Satan, is following him. This death rider and Hades following were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, by famine, by plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. Note, it does not say in the scripture passage that they actually kill a fourth, but only that they have power to kill a fourth of the earth. 1/4 of the earth's population today is Islamic. So the Islamic powers have the power of life and death over 1/4 of the world's population, actually at a minimum. We know they kill each other, that they do it through war and violence by blowing other people up. Or so this would be the sword that the Bible is referring to. We know they kill people by starving populations through famine, by preventing parts of their populations from getting food. We know they do it by preventing them from getting medical treatment, so that the Islamists are promoting plagues in their populations by preventing the people from getting medical treatment. The interesting part of the passage in Revelation says they kill each other by the wild beasts of the earth. That's an interesting phrase. In the Bible, beasts always refers to countries or kingdoms or leaders of countries or kingdoms. A wild beast would be a country or leader that does not follow norms. If you look into the Middle East now, look at countries like Libya, Syria, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, you will see that these countries do not follow norms that are common in the world in regards to how they treat their citizens, and whether or not they are killed for certain things. So you can see how this passage applies when it talks about being killed by the wild beasts of the earth. The people are being killed by the countries that are over them. So putting this all together, it's easy to see how Islam fits as the green horse with a rider called death. At this point, you may be saying, how can Islam be from the end times? How can it be the end times fourth horseman, since the Islamic movement started a long time ago in the 6th century? And Revelation refers to the end times. The end times in scriptures can refer to any time after the assumption of Christ into heaven. In other words, the end times time clock began ticking when Jesus returned to heaven, and everything now is happening in the anticipation of his return. For instance, the apostles believed they were living in the end times and that Christ's return could be imminent. This was as true in the 1st century as it is today. The main forces in Revelation that will lead to Armageddon, I believe, have already been unleashed, and we are moving toward that final clash, and God is revealing to us what those forces and who those forces are. The Islamic green horse and rider were unleashed in the 6th century, and they now are preparing for that final clash with God's chosen people, in which either they will be victorious and wipe Israel off the face of the earth, or Jesus will be victorious in return as the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And that's the end of this particular discussion. I hope it was informing to you. In the future, I plan to discuss the identities of the other three horsemen and how they fit into God's plan into victory over the whole earth. Thank you.